Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Samantha, and I am here to do, I dislike this book, so I think you should read this book instead type of video. I know there's been a lot of videos that a lot of other booktubers have done in the past that's like, if you like this book, then you may like this book kind of thing. Well, I have 5 books that I did not like at all, so I think you should read these other books instead. So, the first one being Watchmen by Alan Moore. This is about some heroes that are down on their luck type of thing. They haven't been in the spotlight for a while, so they start doing kind of sketchy things. I honestly DNF'd this book, so that's as much as I can really tell you about what the book is about, and it really kind of says how much I actually enjoyed the book. I didn't like it at all. It was just really dry for me, so I didn't really enjoy it. So instead of Watchmen, I recommend checking out Suicide Squad. You can pretty much pick up any of the volumes from any point in time, and it will take you right into any action. Suicide Squad doesn't take itself so seriously, so it's really sarcastic, and just the humor itself is probably my favorite. And it has Harley Quinn as well. Harley Quinn is like my favorite in the whole like DC universe. So I highly recommend that because her humor is really fun, and she's Harley Quinn. What else can I say about her? And the next book is a beloved of a lot of people, and it's Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Obviously, everyone knows what this book is about. It's about a teenager, Bella, who falls in love with a sparkly vampire, and she gets attached to a werewolf as well who really likes her, so it's like a love triangle type thing, and it's all kind of like woe is me type of thing for me. So instead of reading Twilight, I highly suggest reading Blue Bloods by Melissa Delacruz. The vampires in this series is much more complex. It is, I think, about like a 5 or 6 book series, if I'm remembering correctly. I was reading this when Twilight came out. I much rather hype this book up more than Twilight, because the vampires in this, they kind of get reincarnated every year. They go back to Roanoke. They have links to the past lives in Roanoke, so you get kind of more of a history for these vampires. They don't come into their past lives until they are about like 14 to 16, until they start going through like puberty and stuff pretty much, and then they start really getting into their strengths and tapping into their past lives. And the romance in here is much more, it's kind of slow build, angsty type of romance, and I really enjoyed it when I read it. And it wasn't, oh, this person isn't around, I can't function anymore. Yeah, there's maybe a couple of times when the main, like the love interest, those two were apart for sometimes and they were sad, but they weren't, oh, I can't continue on with life type of thing. It's like, I understand for some people that may happen to them, but honestly, it's not super realistic for me, and I can't stand the woe is me type of thing trope, so I could really care less about Twilight, and in fact, I only read the first 2 just like a couple of years ago, and don't plan on finishing it out. But I have all of the books for Blue Bloods. There's a couple of companion type novellas that's part of the series as well. So if you like vampires that have a long back history and there's lots of action, and I believe this series also has a spin-off series for one of the characters that goes into the more brings in the werewolf side. So I highly recommend that instead of Twilight. The third one would be Lord of the Flies. This one is usually a required reading for people in school, at least here in the US. I know I had to read this, I think it was my senior year of high school, and I did not enjoy it. It's like a group of boys get stranded on a desert island and they have to survive, and it's just how they cope with being abandoned or stranded on this island. And honestly, I much rather suggest people read The Hunger Games. With it's a more complex survival system in The Hunger Games than there is in the Lord of the Flies, and there's much more plot with you have the 3 books in the series of The Hunger Games. I highly recommend that more than The Lord of the Flies. Next one is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I could barely get into this book. I think I tried with the audiobook first, and it's just so cheesy. This is a werewolf type novel. I don't know a whole lot about it, so I believe it's just a girl finds a wolf that's kind of keeping an eye over her, and she starts to fall in love with the wolf, and then a boy who has the same eye colors as the wolf shows up to school, and she starts falling in love with that boy. And the werewolves, they stay werewolves throughout winter, but through spring, summer, and fall they get to stay in their human forms, but then they're forced to change back into wolf form when winter hits again. It's an odd concept, and it sounds pretty interesting, it would be interesting. It was just a little too sappy for me at that time when I tried to read it, so I just could not get into it. But I recommend Blood and Chocolate by Annette Curtis Kloss. I've read this a couple of times. The main character is a werewolf. She is super strong, independent, fierce. She doesn't need really anybody in her pack to take care of her, and she's probably the most wanted female, young female in her pack for her age range, if I'm remembering correctly. But she doesn't want anything to do with the boys in her pack. But she ends up falling for a human, and in the end, the ending of the book has a twist to it, which I didn't really see coming. I would say it's more inspired by Romeo and Juliet type of thing. They're forbidden to be together because of who they are, and she has to make a decision about if she wants to reveal who she really is to this human and put herself at risk or not. And she is also, there's a plot that goes behind this book where there's a bunch of wolf attacks that they're getting blamed for, so they have to keep living on the down low so they don't get found out about where they are in the neighborhood and then get ran out again. So there's much more further into the plot of this book than I understand of Shiver, so I definitely recommend this. And the last one I have is Hotterodactyl Boyfriend by, I think it's Alan Cumin. I'm not sure how you say the last name. I originally heard about this book from Reba Cindy, and she read it and she gave it a 1-star too. It pretty much, a girl falls in love with a dinosaur, or the whole school becomes obsessed with this dinosaur, and it reads like a fever dream. Did not understand what the heck was going on, except for the couple of parts where she's talking about how hot she thinks this dinosaur is, and she falls in love with it. If you want some kind of more fever dream, but an actual plot that goes along with this stuff too and makes more sense, I suggest reading Wicked by Gregory Maguire. This is obviously well known because of the Broadway musical, but honestly, from what I heard, the Broadway musical is nothing really like the book, so I highly recommend it. There are a couple of parts in Wicked that gives me that what the heck is going on type of thinking, but it turns around and goes back to normal. So I definitely recommend this. It makes a lot more sense. There is a love interest in this as well that leads to that builds up and links to the rest of the books in the series. There are 4 books in the series in total. I believe I have all of them. There's Son of a Witch, A Lion Among Men, and Out of Oz. So I highly recommend reading Wicked. And those are the 5 books that I dislike that I think you should read the other books instead. Leave me a comment down below if there are any books that you have disliked and you would rather recommend other books to other people in the comments below. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date of any new videos that I publish. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.